It was going to stomp the blazing turtle to death. The master of the blazing turtle was witnessing this taking place from a place closeby. He became anxious once he saw that his battle pet had been intimidated to a degree that it had forgotten how to use defense skills. He urged his pet to do something through the communication bond of the contract. Boom! The blazing turtle suddenly retracted its limbs the moment the starburst dragon stomped on its body. There was a grey hue over its shell, edged with strange lines. However, that grey hue was immediately disrupted. The ground caved in and a heavy wind sprung into motion. There was a pit dozens of meters deep after the gust of wind moved past them and the dust settled. The blazing turtle was lying on its stomach inside the pit. Its four limbs were dangling outside its shell, and there was a hole in the chest section. The edge of the hole was melted and blood was oozing out. The turtle was barely breathing. The legendary battle pet warriors were stunned. That blazing turtle was the strongest in defense among all their battle pets, but it wasn't even able to withstand a blow from the starburst dragon. *T, the master of the blazing turtle swore. His eyes reddened, knowing that the strike was fatal. Most of the blazing turtle's internal organs had been melted and its 3 hearts were torn. The blazing turtle would be declared dead unless a top healer showed up and took care of the blazing turtle right away. So, this is what a void state dragon can do. I cannot believe this. There's nothing we can do. Damn it. The other 4 legendary battle pet warriors turned pale. Their own pets would have already died if they were in the turtle's place. The starburst dragon looked up with a cold and violent gaze at the legendary battle pet warriors. But then, something distracted the dragon when it was about to strike them. Bang! The dragon saw the golden image of a fist coming toward it across space. The starburst dragon narrowed its eyes. Roaring, it waved its paws toward the incoming fist. There came a loud noise. The flames on the dragon's claw were dispersed and the beast stepped back, making the ground shake. The golden fist image vanished after making contact. A man emerged from the void during that moment of silence. He stood in front of the legendary battle pet warriors. Teleporting across such a distance. The legendary battle pet warriors were surprised by the sudden appearance of the void state young warrior. 2 of the legendary battle pet warriors who thought the man looked familiar widened their eyes in astonishment. It's him. The freak who had killed a legendary battle pet warrior at the void state with 1 punch. The starburst dragon pierced Suaping with its furious and doubtful looks. The dragon's claw was trembling. It knew perfectly well how intimidating that punch had been. You are the only ones here, said Suaping. The legendary battle pet warriors were startled to see him act so calm and composed in front of that dragon. What if the dragon snuck up on him? He could end up getting wounded. Sir, the dragon is quite scary. We can work with you, the team leader said. All those battle pet warriors were at the ocean state rank, but the leader surpassed the others since he was at the peak of the rank. Scary? Suaping turned around and looked at the starburst dragon that was glaring at him. He chuckled. The dragon was indeed at the void state, but its combat strength was limited, it could not fight with those of a higher rank. The dragon's potential was not much to speak of. Enough of that glare. Time to die, Suaping announced calmly. He lifted his hand and put his fingers together like a sword. A wisp of darkness came into being at the tip of his fingers, then he made a forward motion. That seemed to be quite the ordinary gesture, and there was no trace of energy behind it. But if one were to look carefully, Suaping's fingertips were actually cracking space open. The starburst dragon was about to strike when it suddenly narrowed its eyes. The next second, before being able to do anything, the dragon's head moved. It fell. The cut on its neck was quite neat. Blood gushed out from the cut as the head fell. Only a small portion of blood had sprung out at first, then, as if some hindrance had been removed, blood began to pour out. Bang! The dragon's body collapsed on the ground, stirring up dust clouds. Silence prevailed. The legendary battle pet warriors opened their eyes so wide that their eyes almost popped out. That was beyond any reason and logic. That terrifying void state dragon died, just like that. Death came so quietly and there was no struggle involved, they didn't even get to see how Suaping had done it. What did just happen? 2 of the 5 legendary battle pet warriors had seen Suaping while in the tower and knew he had killed a legendary battle pet warrior of the same rank. And yet, they were still at a loss for words after witnessing that weird and frightening event. This dragon should have had a better potential. Suaping shook his head as he looked down at the dragon corpse. Without looking back, he said to the legendary battle pet warriors standing behind him, "Go and help out in the other places. I'll take care of the beast kings here." Hey? The legendary battle pet warriors were still processing the meaning of Suaping's remarks. The next thing they saw was how Suaping had teleported again, appearing right at the center of the beast kings group. Clang! Clang! Not all the beast kings were as vulnerable. They unleashed many long-range skills after detecting Suaping's approach. Even a beast king would have been skinned alive by that many blasts of energy and explosions. However, Suaping managed to keep teleporting. Just like a ghost able to appear and disappear mysteriously, Suaping hopped around the field as it dealt with the beast kings. He would punch one beast king to death and stomp another with the same outcome. Suaping was like a wolf in the midst of a flock of sheep. He was finishing the beast kings in a flash. That was not a battle for him. It was a game. The legendary battle pet warriors were dumbstruck. Is this a legendary battle pet warrior at the void state? No, he should be at the fate state. However, those in the tower who had a void state rank were usually in management positions. It was said that only the master and a mysterious old man living in seclusion inside the tower were at the fate state rank. Is Suaping that man living in seclusion? The 2 legendary warriors who had seen Suaping at the tower knew that Suaping was not at the fate state. The 2 understood why the tower did not hold Suaping accountable after seeing how Suaping was killing the beast kings. Not even the tower master had intervened. He had most surely learned from many sources that the young man was out of the ordinary and decided not to provoke such a violent man. The massacring of beast kings attracted the attention of the people in other areas. Some war correspondents shifted their attention to the beast kings. Everyone received a nasty shock when they saw how the beast kings were dying at an alarming rate. The human side was at a disadvantage moments before, but then the tables were turned. Who was the legendary battle pet warrior killing the beast kings non-stop? Some war correspondents zoomed in with their cameras while trying to capture the legendary battle pet warrior's face, but Suaping's movements were so fast it made this impossible. Still, there were times when the man would stop occasionally. Some war correspondents had been able to get a close-up shot. It was an aloof young man with dark hair and dark eyes. That close-up shot would be kept forever. If humans did have a chance at keeping a future for themselves, those close-up shots would surely be included in textbooks. After all, a disaster of such magnitude would certainly earn a place in history. The beast kings are being routed. Oh my god, I see 8, no, 9 dead beast kings. Look at him go. He's insane. Who's that legendary battle pet warrior? He's killing those beast kings as if mowing the lawn. This is what a legendary battle pet warrior should be like. The battle pet warriors gazed at the area where the beast kings were gathered. Despair was finally leaving their hearts. Inspired by what they saw, the battle pet warriors clenched their fists in excitement. He had already been able to fight against the otherworld heavenly king, which was at the fate state when he was merely at the 7th rank while merging with the little skeleton. The heavenly king had probably not displayed all of its strength back then, but Suaping did have the strength to punch those at the void state to death at that time. He had recently broken through to the peak of the 9th rank and had attained Solar Bulwark's 2nd level. The understanding of all his skills had become more profound after his experience on the Celestial Star. Dealing with powerful enemies with the least effort. A human slaying beast kings. Dealing with the Starburst Dragon was already an easy task for him. He would have had to exert a great effort to kill a void state battle pet warrior in the old days, let alone a dragon of a similar rank. How dare you leave the deep caves? Go and rot in hell! Suaping glared at the beast kings. One day, he would make the beasts know that the world of humans was off limits to them. As Suaping finished more and more beast kings, the ones that he had yet to attack were already scared out of their wits. Once he killed the starburst dragon, the remaining beast kings had already developed an urge to run for their lives. Suaping went on, until the beast kings turned around and ran away at once. Humans were cheering while they saw this happen. The beasts were the ones cheering just moments before. Humans had been steadily losing ground, barely able to hold on. Wild beasts saw humans like cats saw mice. But then, everyone experienced how even the extremely arrogant beast kings would also tremble in fear and end up running for their lives. I knew it. I knew it. Far in the distance, Venerable the Blade was helping the other battle pet warriors in dealing with the 9th rank beasts. He felt his blood boil with excitement upon seeing Suaping's gallant deeds. He always knew that Suaping would exceed his expectations. Not even a void state warrior would act as valiantly as Suaping. He still remembered how he had visited Suaping's store with Yuan Tianchen. It turned out that the latter had almost gotten himself killed by that golden-haired girl in Suaping's store. Yuan Tianchen had only survived because he had managed to teleport away. Suaping was an inscrutable enigma for Venerable the Blade. The Longjiang base city should be the safest place in the world. Lord Nai was blinded by his petty short-sightedness. Venerable the Blade thought. If Lord Nai had not meddled in the process, Longjiang would have been a part of the Xinjing defense line. The moment Longjing was attacked, the Longjiang base city would have sent reinforcements over. Even the breathtakingly beautiful girl with golden hair in Suaping's store would have been enough to handle all the wild beasts. They would have suffered less and many people wouldn't have had to die. Venerable the Blade felt a pang in his heart as he looked at the collapsed buildings and the corpses that the wild beasts were stomping on. He decided to report the whole thing to the master of the tower once everything was over. He no longer cared if the Void State warriors would hold a grudge afterwards. Boom! Boom! The sounds of explosions lingered and the ground shook. No beast king stood a chance. Suaping took away their lives, one by one. Defense skills. Close combat. Bloodline skills. No skill of any sort would work to withstand Suaping's punches. Some beast kings tried to fight him, but Suaping still managed to punch a hole in their bodies. That violence was a shocking sight. The beast kings were routed in less than 3 minutes. Yes. The area with beast kings was the most difficult one since the attack began. It was at the moment covered with beast corpses in a matter of minutes. Some of the beast kings were as large as buildings, and yet they were lying on the ground like mountains of flesh. Is that the place? I think that's an underground passageway to the deep caves. Suaping stopped in mid-air. Many corpses lay disorderly around the broken steel and concrete structures. The large beast king corpses were testimony to Suaping's advantage, being a powerful yet smaller-sized human being. The beast kings were taken care of. Suaping had noticed another area some distance away where beast kings were gathered, but he didn't detect the presence of any legendary battle pet warriors. Those beast kings were heading his way. He closed his eyes and basically pinpointed the locations of those beast kings by using his perception. 2 swirls appeared next to him. He summoned the purple python and the void bug. Suaping had also trained the purple python during his stay on the celestial star. The purple python had become quite resistant to fire. It could basically become immune to fire if there was another chance to visit the celestial star. The purple python would become able to withstand any fire-related skills below the fate state. Of course, beast kings barely used any skills of a single sort. They would usually mix fire skills with lightning or spatial forces to increase their destruction power and hit rate. But generally speaking, the purple python was powerful enough to deal with beast kings at the ocean state. In addition, the purple python's constitution was also changing. While its strength remained at the peak of the 6th rank, its combat strength was close to the ocean state. Go ahead and do whatever you want to do with them, Suaping said to the two battle pets. The purple python would technically be fine as long as the beast kings didn't surround them. As for the bug, it was an alien being that would even trouble the gods in the demigod burial. The bug had a special trait which allowed it to consume dead gods and excrete divine crystals. Its body was able to refine energy. Suaping had done experiments. The bug would poop strange things when it ate some beasts. Of course, the bug would also discharge regular poop as well. Greeny, a name that Suaping had given to the bug, was good at disguising and was able to protect itself very well. Therefore, Suaping didn't worry about the two. Greeny and the purple python charged toward the wild beasts with glee. In the meantime, Suaping ran toward the beast kings that were going after him. 40,000 meters, 30,000 meters, 15,000 meters. Suaping was soon welcomed by many long-range strikes. The beast kings felt Suaping's presence, which enraged them even more. The onlookers started to get nervous after seeing that overwhelming spread of strikes. Those skills were enough to destroy half of the Longjing base city. The skills were enough to instantly flatten a Class C base city. The inhabitants wouldn't even have enough time to react. They would merely see how the sky would light up before the world reached its end. Boom _ Dozens of strikes were shattered by Suaping. A mess of disrupted energy was left in the air, raging all across the sky. The void was collapsing. Spatial cracks were seen in the area. Even an ocean state warrior would end up crushed by the turbulent air inside those void cracks. There was a swirl in which the air had collapsed into. Those beast kings knew that Suaping was able to teleport, so they were locking the surrounding space, also making it fragile so that a legendary battle pet warrior of the void state was unable to teleport. Once Suaping tried teleporting, he could be sucked into the turbulent air currents on a deeper level. Damn it! Is he going to be okay? Those beast kings sure are scheming. They're working together. I knew those beast kings had a plan. They're actually organized. Once they take over Longjing, they're going to take over the other base sites one by one and shift to the other defense lines. We're going to be in tons of trouble. Many people were anxious. Some of the titled battle pet warriors were worried. The other places would surely be affected once they lost that base city. The other two defense lines in the subcontinent district would also be destroyed. By then, the entire subcontinent district would fall. Phew! A sharp cone suddenly appeared from a puff of smoke. The smoke was pulled upward and then torn apart. A figure covered by golden light rushed out of the smoke. It was a person with a golden-colored glow. He was completely unharmed. The other battle pet warriors in the distance widened their eyes in disbelief and excitement. He did it! Suaping did it! He had survived that bombardment. Even the 7th rank and 8th rank battle pet warriors were able to tell that Suaping was much better than the beast kings. Hope! There was hope for them. They gazed at Suaping with nervousness and anticipation. Roar! The beast kings were bellowing angrily. Some beast kings were appalled by the appearance of the man. This human is the actual monster. Many beast kings were thinking about withdrawing. However, the arrow had to fly once it was placed on the string. The beast kings still charged toward Suaping as they launched another round of strikes. The first round had failed. Maybe the second round would succeed. Suaping was obviously not planning on standing still to take on those attacks. He strode forward and teleported across tens of thousands of meters. He could already see the beast kings clearly after several teleportations. Suaping was bombarded again. He lifted his hand and a golden fist image countered those strikes. Space rippled, leaving many cracks behind. Suaping stepped out from that mess of turbulent energy and stomped his feet on a beast king right in front of him. The beast king was running over. It could produce an impact strong enough to destroy a mountain. However, Suaping had stomped its head open. Blood gushed out. Without the control of its brain, inertia carried the beast king forward until it fell on the ground. The corpse pushed many rocks and boulders forward, clearing out a whole area. Suaping vanished on the spot and reappeared in front of another beast king. He took out a sword and sliced open the many defensive layers protecting that beast king, which was bleeding badly at the moment. Compared to the beast kings, Suaping was barely visible, but he was wreaking havoc wherever he went. The beast kings fell into disarray. Some of them weren't as good at close-quarter combat, Suaping's swift and elusive actions made it impossible for them to react in time, resulting in many of them ending up badly mauled or killed. Roar! A behemoth that looked like a tree was shouting. Its tree crown was made of flesh and blood, and below it were countless tentacles. There were many invisible traps around the Beast King. Suaping would trigger the traps if he were to teleport to where the Beast King was, which could send him to a turbulent spatial area. Suaping was able to tell that was their leader. He calmly readied his sword and slashed at the tree across the distance. Sin Cutter. He infused the sword with astral powers, and the vortices in his cells were spinning like crazy. Some Beast Kings tried to disrupt the ray of sword light before it reached the tree, but the attack was strong enough to sweep them away. The spatial traps around the tree were destroyed. The ray of sword light then disappeared into thin air. Bang! A deep cut appeared on the trunk of the tree. The edge of the cut was adorned with black flames. The arboreal Beast King's roots went deep underground, and they were sucking something as if there was blood down below. The cut was being healed, however. The dark flames would burn the newly grown flesh, and the cut became wider and wider. Blood and pus were oozing out. Without hesitation, Suaping ran into the group of Beast Kings. PFF. 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 He would kill or wound a Beast King with each attack. The Beast Kings were in disorder due to the shock. Soon after, 7 or 8 Beast Kings had stopped breathing. The stronger ones only had one last breath left in them. Apart from Suaping, no one else was making a sound. How marvelous! One man against all those Beast Kings, and he was winning. Most importantly, Suaping wasn't relying on any battle pets. He had merged with one, but no other battle pets were assisting him. Who is this legendary battle pet warrior? Some battle pet warriors who didn't understand the legendary rank were perplexed. That day's battle had made them understand that legendary battle pet warriors could be very different. There was no doubt that Suaping was one of the best legendary battle pet warriors. At the very least, he was the most powerful one they had ever seen. No one knew that Suaping was still at the titled rank. Even Venerable the Blade was convinced that Suaping had reached the legendary rank. As for the fact that he sensed Suaping was at the titled rank, he still believed that Suaping was somehow masking it. Combat strength was the most direct sign. The Beast Kings had been routed before anyone came back to their senses. The Beast Kings that had escaped from the deep caves were either dead or wounded. Suaping didn't go after them. First, he killed the Beast Kings that he had just wounded, including the tree beast at the void state. Suaping finished that tree with a second cut. Overwhelming. Suaping was much more powerful than those Beast Kings. That was a fact. Suaping didn't even know how strong his combat strength was. He just had a feeling that he might be able to hold his own against a star rank being. After all, he had combined the cut with the power of rules. That was something that only those at the star rank were able to do. That man was worthy of being called a legendary battle pet warrior. He was a legend. Whoosh! Suaping didn't stop after killing those Beast Kings. He flew to the surrounding areas and discharged some bolts of lightning in the process, or launched sword attacks at the gathered wild beasts. Those wild beasts, intimidated by Suaping's killing intent, started to run away. They gradually learned it was best not to stay together so that they wouldn't be killed together at once. The other battle pet warriors got their chance since the wild beasts were running in different directions. They charged at the wild beasts. The 5 legendary battle pet warriors were less burdened thanks to this effort. They could then go and fight the lone Beast Kings or give support to other battle pet warriors. As such, the situation gradually improved for the human side. Humans turned defense into offense while led by the legendary battle pet warriors. We did it! We're winning! Come on guys! Don't give those damn beasts a chance! Kill them all! Give me back my friends! Give me back my niece! The war correspondents spread the news. The battle pet warriors felt their morale improve. They had been suffering before that moment. They had to watch their partners die. They had to see their battle pets die, their companions even when they ate and slept. It was then the time for revenge. It was a time for retaliation. The battle drums were beating. The sonic elephants were chanting at the same time. Those beasts were merely at the 8th rank, but their chanting could inspire the battle pet warriors' morale. A group of sonic elephants forming a wall and chanting together could greatly uplift the battle pet warriors' spirits. Of course, those chants would be useless when a dragon roared. That was how terrifying a dragon could be. As the sonic elephants chanted, the battle pet warriors shouted and charged forward, closing in on the wild beasts. The battle pet warriors advanced and progressively defeated the wild beasts under the leadership of the legendary battle pet warriors. Venerable the Blade was thrilled. He knew that calling Suaping for help was the right choice. Suaping was even more powerful than he had thought. Even without Lord Nai's help, Suaping was strong enough to save a base city. Even though he was also at the legendary rank, Venerable the Blade could not help but admire Suaping. He wondered how great his life would be if he could be like Suaping. Whoosh! Suaping ran through the battlefield and cleared a path. Many wild beasts were either killed or scared away. The battle pet warriors gazed at Suaping with admiration and respect. They ran past the dead wild beasts and charged deeper into the cluster of enemies. They had to get their base city back. That was one of humanity's homes. Is that a passageway to the deep caves? Suaping gazed at the place where the Beast Kings came from. It had at one point been the point with the largest number of Beast Kings. Only some advanced wild beasts remained in that area, including many 9th rank beasts, all because he had scared away or killed the Beast Kings. Beasts would usually be at high ranks, except for the cubs, to survive inside the deep caves. More Beast Kings. Suaping narrowed his eyes. He detected the presence of Beast Kings in the deepest part of the passageway. There had to be several Beast Kings hiding inside. Whoosh! Suaping dived down from the sky like a fighter plane. Bolts of lightning were flashing in the palm of his hands. He lifted his sword and a ray of sword light cut open a path through the throng of beasts, leaving behind many pieces of flesh and pools of blood. However, given the sheer number of wild beasts, more would move forward to fill in the gap. The white bones were gradually retracted and removed from his person. Suaping's appearance was restored. Use undead enslaving. Suaping ordered. The little skeleton stood by him tamely and its eye sockets were glistening in red. A profound mist of darkness oozed out from the little skeleton. What happened then alerted many people. The nearby war correspondents captured a close-up shot of Suaping. Suaping was the highlight everywhere. He was the person that could decide whether humans could win in the end. Is he the legendary battle pet warrior? Handsome indeed, is that his battle pet? It's so small, and it looks just like any other skeleton. Is it actually a beast king? Look, the skeleton is about to do something. Under the eyes of many, the mist of darkness began to spread toward the wild beasts. Whenever the dark mist made contact, the wild beasts would cry and there would be a noise like bones clicking together. Many twisted beasts dashed out as the dark mist faded away. Those were all the beasts that Suaping had killed. Those beasts no longer had a pulse but their bodies were still warm. They could still bleed but they no longer felt pain. The twisted creatures ran toward the other wild beasts. The entire horde of wild beasts descended into chaos. The enslaved wild beasts carried with them a dark element, they were even more powerful than when they were alive. Besides, those twisted creatures weren't afraid of dying. They soon caused a great number of casualties on the wild beasts' side. In the meantime, a door to the realm of the undead appeared behind the little skeleton. That was the little skeleton's most powerful skill. The pungent energy of death was being unleashed as the demonic door was opened. The battle pet warriors and wild beasts both felt a chill. It was as if the world would have been connected to an unspeakably horrifying place. Roar! Many skeletons dashed out from the door soon after. There were skeleton dragons with red eyes, fallen angels with dark wings, and some twisted creatures. The ancient wolf skeleton warriors charged forth with their spears, carrying a power from the past. The many wild beasts gathered in front of the passageway to the deep caves were crushed when the skeleton army struck. Many of the skeleton warriors were equal to beast kings. A rough estimate would be that there were over a dozen with beast king strength. The little skeleton could have summoned something even more terrifying if it were at a higher rank. Overwhelming. The wild beasts were falling like flies due to the skeleton warriors. The skeleton dragon, the fallen angels, and the other creatures were charging as if the area were deserted. We one man and one skeleton against all the wild beasts. No one was able to utter a single word. How terrifying! That person is a god of war. Take care of this place. I'll finish those that are still inside, Sua Ping said to the little skeleton. The little skeleton nodded with a dull look. Sua Ping teleported again and again. He soon reached the passageway into the deep caves. He could no longer see what the buildings around the passageway were once like. The blocks of cement and steel were turned upside down. More and more wild beasts were coming out and some beast kings were hiding in some places, observing. The beast kings felt it as Sua Ping moved closer. Soon after, some of the beast kings ran toward the deepest parts of the passageway. They were running away. They had surely felt the trail of killing Sua Ping was leaving behind. The beast kings decided to run away since Sua Ping was going their way. Sua Ping raised his eyebrows. He decided not to chase the beast kings that were escaping. Killing all the wild beasts was too great of a task when done alone. Even when he finished off those wild beasts, there would always be more hiding in the deep caves. Boom! Sua Ping wielded his sword. The ray of sword light landed on the ground and bang, the rocks rolled over and blocked the passageway. The wild beasts that were running toward the entrance were cut open. Those wild beasts had strong vitality, their remains were still wiggling after being halved. Some war correspondents hovering in the sky riding bird pets captured Sua Ping on video as he blocked the passageway. They broadcast the scene all across the base cities. The other battle pet warriors were even more inspired. The passageway had been cut off. Those wild beasts were like rats in a hole. Finish them! The battle pet warriors were shouting loud enough to make the sky shake. The wild beasts that were about to break into the human city had been being slain. No more wild beasts came out from the collapsed passageway. The 9th rank beasts would have been able to shatter the boulders blocking the opening, but no wild beasts had made a move. The collapse was a signal. It was a signal of danger. Approaching the entrance would be dangerous. Even the beast kings had escaped and gone back to the deep caves. Without the beast kings to lead them, the lesser wild beasts that couldn't make it back to the passageway wandered close to the entrance, hesitating. Some of the more scheming beasts had turned around and escaped. Hey! Sua Ping suddenly noticed something as he hovered in the sky. He gazed into the distance. Boom _. The entire base city was shaking. This startled all the people who were fighting. The quake was so strong that some battle pet warriors fell to the ground. What is going on? Earthquake! The battle pet warriors who had a more acute sense suddenly narrowed their eyes. They were shaking, they felt something terrifying. Moo! There was a loud bellow, which resembled a mix between cow's moo and a dragon's roar. The center of the battleground had caved in. There was a team of hundreds of battle pet warriors that didn't have time to run away. A pile of dirt pushed them up and then something in the cave sucked them in, they were shouting in misery. The next second, a huge thing as massive as a mountain, covered with thick but soft dark fur got out from the cave. Fate state? Sua Ping recognized that at once. He could not believe that there would be a beast at the Fate state, which would be on par with the otherworld Heavenly King. Still, it was still unclear which of the two was stronger. That being said, he was sure that this Beast King was leading this strike. If I hadn't made the trip over, this base city would have been doomed. I wonder how the other defense lines were doing. Suo Ping's mind was weighed down. He didn't think the Xingjing defense line was an exception. Humans would suffer if there was a Fate State Beast King on each defense line. While Suo Ping was considering that possibility, the behemoth suddenly let out a shrill noise that turned all the surrounding buildings into dust. The high-pitched call echoed across the entire base city. The many battle pet warriors gazed into the distance with fear. Even some Beast King pets were frightened. As a matter of fact, they were the ones most afraid since they felt that the mountain-like Beast King was overpowering. Beast King pets were insignificant when compared to that monolithic beast. What is that thing? A Beast King at the Void State? No, the legendary battle pet warriors seemed to be wary and surprised. The Starburst Dragon didn't seem to be as intimidating. They felt as if a viper were licking the back of their necks, but they did not dare to move at all. Look! What is that? Humans! Humans and beasts! Is that Lord Nai? Soon enough, someone noticed that some figures were dangling on the vines. The legendary battle pet warriors focused their sights. They were appalled by what they saw. It was Lord Nai and the others who had fled with him. Many fragments of Beast King corpses were tangled in the vines. The Beast Kings had been torn to pieces, mostly leaving out their heads or internal organs, which made for a ghastly sight. Venerable the Blade was startled. He had thought that Lord Nai had run away. He didn't know that a Beast King had captured him. Ambush! Venerable the Blade felt his blood freeze. That Beast King had surely been hiding outside the base city. He would have been caught by the vines if he would have tried escaping with Lord Nai. Whoosh! Suo Ping ran to the little skeleton. To be safe, the little skeleton also moved and closed the gap in the air, then merged with Suo Ping. Since the wild beasts had been rooted, the little skeleton no longer needed to babysit the area. The massive Beast King turned around, making the ground tremble. A pair of red eyes opened from within the vines. The Beast King fixed its glare on Suo Ping. It had left that place for only a minute, but the situation had gone through a drastic change. The many Beast Kings that had attacked had either died or were wounded. That was unacceptable. Help! Suddenly, there came a weak call for help. The legendary battle pet warriors who were dangling in the air were still breathing. Whoosh! 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 Many legendary battle pet warriors hurried over to where Suo Ping was. They had previously been unable to catch up with Suo Ping as he was dashing around. That Beast King was the one leading the beast strike. They were worried that something could go wrong on Suo Ping's side if he were to deal with that Beast King on his own. They knew full well that they would never win once Suo Ping was defeated. They would lose all the advantages that they had just won if something happened to him. Sir! Mr. Su! We're here to help. Tell us what you need us to do. The legendary battle pet warriors, including Venerable the Blade, stood behind Suo Ping. They were ready to receive his orders. Suo Ping was more than qualified and capable enough to lead them. Is that Lord Nai? He's still alive. Great! Save Lord Nai and we will have better odds at winning. The legendary battle pet warriors were gladly surprised to see that Lord Nai was still alive. But Venerable the Blade didn't propose nor supported such a plan. He just gazed at Suo Ping. He knew very well why Lord Nai and the others had disappeared. They could have worked together to defeat that terrifying Beast King if they hadn't escaped and waited for Suo Ping to arrive. Many people would have been spared from dying. After all, the withdrawal of several legendary battle pet warriors had created quite a fair deal of trouble for the other battle pet warriors. Many had died or were injured in a matter of minutes. They're beyond saving. Suo Ping darted a glance and said calmly, the Beast King is absorbing their astral powers, their bones and organs would be ripped away if we tried to pull them free. On the other hand, staying there would only nourish the Beast King. The other legendary battle pet warriors fixed their gazes on the Beast King while openly surprised. They realized that Suaping was telling the truth. The vines wrapped around Lord Nai and the others weren't made of hairs, but more like flesh and blood. There were finger-thick vine branches that had pierced into their bodies. Lord Nai appeared to be much skinnier than before. The legendary battle pet warriors standing with Suaping felt overwhelmed by the outlook. Lord Nai was at the void state. It was a shame that such a legendary battle pet warrior couldn't be saved. "Sir, what should we do? Sir, what do you think?" the legendary battle pet warriors asked Suaping anxiously. Suaping answered calmly, "It's easy. We kill them so that they can no longer provide energy to the Beast King. That will lessen our burden." The legendary battle pet warriors were stunned speechless. That wasn't what they were talking about. They were asking how they could save Lord Nai and the others. "Sir, we would have to face this Beast King by ourselves if we killed them," a legendary battle pet warrior expressed his concern. Time was pressing. They had to make a decision. "It's okay. I'm just glad they won't be able to distract us," Suaping said. "They also won't be wasted, either. You've seen that my battle pet can enslave the dead. When they die, my battle pet can enslave them and they would still be able to fight." 211 The legendary battle pet warriors looked at each other in speechless despair. They somehow felt Suaping was smiling. Was it an illusion? How on earth could he smile when this Beast King was there? If it weren't for the fact that Suaping had just made a great contribution by turning the tables, they would have never thought that Suaping was doing that on purpose. They thought at first that Suaping was trying to find more puppets for his battle pet. Venerable the Blade curled his lips. He knew that it was best not to offend that guy. Revenge is a dish best served hot. Wasn't it served cold? No one would want to eat a cold dish. "Suaping, what are you talking about?" someone shouted. In the distance, Lord Nai and the others had overheard the conversation. They were all legendary battle pet warriors and were able to hear across that distance, even though they were on their deathbeds. Those people were barely clinging to their lives. Then, when they heard Suaping's words, it was as if they had just gotten a momentary surge of vitality. They had been so scared since there was nothing they could do. They could be saved, but Suaping was claiming that they should be killed? They were legendary battle pet warriors. "Oh? I see that you know my name." Suaping raised his eyebrows and chuckled. They had researched him. Targeting the Longjiang base city was targeting him. "We will remember your contributions. Go ahead and kill yourselves. Rest in peace, considering it would be helpful for us," Suaping said. Lord Nai was so angry that he was going to cough out blood. He filed his teeth and widened his eyes. There were some things he could not say out loud. Suaping was getting personal to get back at him because of Longjiang base city. There was a mutual understanding. "You cannot kill me, I can save myself. I am at the void state, I have a vision and abilities you cannot imagine. You'll just have to distract the Beast King for us," Lord Nai suggested. He knew that begging would not work with Suaping. Those able to reach the legendary rank had a strong will that would not yield to begging. He was saying those things to dissuade Suaping into not killing him. Of course, he couldn't save himself at the moment, but he would rather die in the hands of the Beast King than of Suaping's. Also, Lord Nai thought he would find a chance to get away once Suaping was fully focused on fighting the wild beast. He had to create a chance. The Beast King did nothing other than stare at Suaping coldly while the humans talked. It was waiting for something. Or, it was a confrontation of sorts. Suaping chuckled. He wouldn't have been able to do it if he were a person who cherished his reputation. But he didn't care about the tower's reputation. Of course, he wouldn't allow for Lord Nai's trick to work. "You're talking about the vision and abilities that someone at the void state has. You wouldn't have had to wait for us to save you if you did have them, not to mention the fact that you cannot even save yourself. You're just nurturing the Beast King at this point. You're so scared of death, you don't even look like a legendary battle pet warrior. Given those circumstances, we can only help you end your life. So Ping continued calmly, guys, join me. We'll have an even bigger problem if we let the Beast King take more of their astral powers. The other legendary battle pet warriors felt their hearts skipped a beat. As they looked at So Ping and the trapped Lord Nai, they didn't doubt that the former was better than the latter in every way. They even felt Lord Nai had been too arrogant to suddenly talk about vision and abilities to So Ping. They could not afford to let the tables turn again. None of them would survive. So Ping was defeated. Got it. We will follow your lead. Lord Nai has made many contributions in his life. We will send him off to an honorable end. That is correct. The legendary battle pet warriors soon made their decisions. Lord Nai almost was angered to death. Honorable end. Nothing would be honorable once he reached the end. So Ping, I am sorry. I was as blind as a bat and offended you. You have my sincere apologies. I'll agree to all your conditions if you can let bygones be bygones. Please. Lord Nai could not help but begin to beg. He knew he would die if he carried on his dignified ways. The only hope of survival was on So Ping. Implications would no longer work. Lord Nai had to put everything on the table. You're sorry? Why are you sorry? I don't think I know you. So Ping sounded surprised. Lord Nai squeezed out his answer. It was me who decided to exclude the Longjiang base city. You don't know me, but the one you killed at the tower was my buddy. I simply could not take it. I'm sorry. I have been at the legendary rank for 300 years and collected many treasures and coins during this time. I can give you everything. The other legendary battle pet warriors looked at So Ping. It was only then that they learned about their feud. They began to wonder if there were other reasons for So Ping to decide not to save Lord Nai. Maybe there was a chance of survival for Lord Nai after all, the legendary battle pet warriors thought. So Ping grinned after he heard Lord Nai say his piece. Do it. Wait, what? The legendary battle pet warriors were surprised. Do it. No more arguments? Lord Nai has apologized, but So Ping still wants to kill him? What? You're doubting my decision? This is nothing personal. So Ping snorted. The other people remained silent. They had to rely on So Ping. Besides, hearing what Lord Nai had confessed, they believed that he was indeed a sinner. Humans were at a critical time and they had to fight against the deep caves together. But Lord Nai was still thinking about internal strife. He was despicable. So Ping paid no regard to what the legendary battle pet warriors were thinking. He gazed at the mountain-like Beast King. So Ping had been observing the Beast King during the conversation. The two were feeling each other out. He felt that the Beast King was somewhat like the otherworld Heavenly King. But, he was no longer as he was back then. He had merely been at the 7th rank when he fought the Heavenly King. Right then, he was at the peak of the 9th rank. Finish it! So Ping's killing intent was rising. Roar! The mountain-like Beast King felt the change in So Ping and let out a yell. Over 10 walls that were more than 100 meters tall came rushing toward So Ping. In the meantime, space around So Ping had been tampered with to prevent him from teleporting. Get out of here! So Ping shouted. He stepped forward and punched out. The walls collapsed, a huge cloud of dust rose. So Ping emerged from the cloud of dust, carrying the sword. Slash! So Ping wielded his sword. The ray of sword light cut open the air and reached the mountain-like Beast King. Lord Nai and those dangling in the air were appalled. So Ping's abilities were beyond their imagination. They had underestimated So Ping. They then learned what death felt like as the ray of sword light reached them. They could not survive that. The onlooking legendary battle pet warriors were more regretful. They shouldn't have followed Lord Nai. He had royally messed up and they had to suffer for it. Sometimes, that was how it worked with parties and gangs. If you found a good group, you would live comfortable lives, but once you barked at the wrong tree, you would be doomed. Boom! There was a sound blast that stopped the ray of sword light. The mountain-like beast king was furious. It shouted and the ground was shaking. The vines were dancing around, some dark marks were appearing in the air. Lord Nye and the others soon dried up. Hell, they shouted, but their voices were becoming so hoarse they were no longer able to utter a sound. Lord Nye wasn't doing any better. He was as weak as an insect when compared to the mountain-like beast king. He was completely unable to fight back. So Ping didn't pay any attention to their plight. Lord Nye and the other legendary battle pet warriors couldn't be saved. He would only make sure to remind the little skeleton to make use of those corpses. A good training partner. So Ping didn't intend to kill the Beast King right away. There were some things he wanted to try out. Rules of Thunder. Bolts of lightning danced around in So Ping's hand, their energy was offending to the eyes. So Ping was thinking about heaven's test punishment by lightning. The bolts of lightning in So Ping's hands dashed to the sky, sucking in all the turbulent energy. They grew in size before they crashed down. The entire battleground was lit up by the bolts of lightning. Even those at the other side of the base city could see them. The mountain-like beast king bellowed. Its four limbs took root in the ground and many dirt walls rose quickly. The walls formed a huge hand that reached toward the bolts of lightning boom. The ground quaked as the hand conducted the bolt of lightning into the ground. There was something unspeakable about the golden flames. The massive Beast King narrowed its eyes in surprise. The Beast King was at the Fate state, it was quite able to distinguish different energies. The Beast King thought that the dancing golden fire in So Ping's hands seemed to be beyond all comprehension. There was a mixture of different elements that shouldn't go together, but that human had managed to keep a balance between that energy mixture. The golden fire was making the Beast King panic. It gave an ominous feeling. The beast was certain that the fire was something that shouldn't be touched. Roar! The Beast King bellowed angrily. The ground turned inside out and many dark crystal walls rose from below. Some ghost faces were engraved on the walls. That was an advanced legendary rank skill, walls of ghost faces. The eyes on the ghosts' faces opened as if they had come to life when the golden fire and the lightning bolts smashed onto the walls. The ghost faces cried so miserably that people felt their blood freeze. Boom! The walls cracked, the golden fire could melt everything. The ghosts' faces were twisted. The mountain-like Beast King snarled and more crystal walls were created. Finally, the golden fire and lightning bolts were stopped after melting through roughly 8 walls. It is working. So Ping was surprised. He didn't know that the golden crow's flames were that destructive. The walls had been built by a Fate state skill. I heard that adult golden crows, like Daixing, can burn off the power of rules with their innate flames. So Ping blinked. It was within reason that the golden crows had managed to survive for ages. That was enough to crush the confidence of many people cultivating hard. Right then, So Ping noticed the ongoing battles from the corner of his eye. Even though humans were gaining the upper hand, many battle pet warriors were still dying. He could not waste any more time. So Ping focused on the mountain-like Beast King. Sir, do you need us to help? The legendary battle pet warriors approached him. So Ping thought of a perfect answer. Yes. Sir, what do we need to do? Go away. 2 PII. The legendary battle pet warriors were perplexed. What? So Ping then sprung into action without saying anything else. Boom! The vortices inside his cells were spinning at full speed. The energy in the air was rushing over and a huge funnel appeared in front of him. The legendary battle pet warriors could simply not believe that. Absorbing energy. That is robbing energy. They also felt that even their astral powers were leaving them and moving toward So Ping. So Ping can rob our astral powers? The legendary battle pet warriors remembered what So Ping had just said to them. They stepped away at once. They had to struggle in order to escape the funnel's pull. In a sense, they lost their astral powers to So Ping. The Chaos Star chart was one of the earliest rewards So Ping got from the system. The ancient cultivation method was mysterious. Sui Ping had been able to easily steal astral powers from Solingya, who cultivated in another room when he was a low-rank battle pet warrior. When he recently used the Chaos Star Chart in full strength, he could take over the astral powers in an area with a radius of tens of thousands of meters. Take this punch! Sui Ping's eyes were glowing in a golden color. He was also mobilizing his divine energy. He didn't plan on using the Void Sword. That Beast King didn't deserve such a treatment. His training on the Celestial Star had also enabled him to make progress with the Fist of Exorcist as well. He had integrated the rules of thunder and fire into the second level of this skill, transforming it into the flaming thunder fist of his own creation. Phew! The astral powers were moving more violently around Sui Ping, forming a tornado connecting heaven and earth. Two strands of energy that were purple and red respectively were entangled in the tornado. All the astral powers were gathering in Sui Ping's hands and fists. The two strands of energy were also wrapped around Sui Ping's fists. Boom! Sui Ping threw a punch, the two strands of purple and red energy instantly rushed out. Space in front of his fist began to crack, the first level of space collapsed and so did the second. The fist then submerged into the spatial crack. The next second, in front of the mountain-like Beast King, space twisted. A gush of violent energy rushed out. The massive Beast King was appalled. This human is able to open the second level of space? The beast would have needed to muster a great amount of energy to do that. What a terrifying punch! Roar! The Beast King bellowed a fierce call, the entire base city shook. Profound energy from the ground was being drawn by the Beast King and entering its limbs and vines. Space around the Beast King was collapsing. All the vines were sucked into the turbulent currents of space. Bang! All of a sudden, a spear rose from the ground. It was a primitive stone spear covered in energy patterns, although it seemed to be man-made. The ancestor of that Beast King had once seen a god's weapon and committed that to memory. The ancestors passed down the memory to all generations. That skill was named Rock God Spear. It was a skill mastered by Beast Kings of the Stone family. It was a rare move which was more destructive than skills of the Thunder and Flame families. The primitive and ancient-looking spear tore the ground apart as it gradually came into being. The weapon was merely dozens of meters long, but it was as overwhelming as a 1,000-meter-tall mountain. Rock God Spear! Oh my god, the legendary stone skill! Isn't that only a legend? Is it actually real? That is real. That is just like the one I saw in the illustrated book. It is the Rock God Spear. I heard that this skill could even kill demons and gods alike. It can be used to target enemies hundreds of thousands of meters away. The legendary battle pet warriors were dumbstruck. Some of the better informed titled warriors or those who had once stolen a chance to look at classified information of a higher degree had also recognized the skill. They never imagined they would see that skill on the blue planet. That was the strongest skill of the Stone family. While people had been dumbstruck by the skill, the space in front of the mountain-like Beast King was collapsing. In the meantime, a glaring fist surrounded by golden light whooshed out. That fist was thousands of meters large, although it seemed like a bug in front of the gargantuan Beast King, one that could be squashed to death with one stomp. Those who were already dumbstruck were completely speechless. That skill! They had never seen it before. They had never heard of anything like that. They even felt they could be easily beaten to death. Boom! The Rock God Spear that had yet to get a chance to reach its target collided with the golden fist. There was a loud noise, as if a nuclear bomb had been set off. Air was disrupted. The battle pet warriors who were standing too close felt that their faces and necks were bleeding. Dust swirled in the air and the ground caved in. The Rock God Spear became invisible in the cloud of dust. A fierce wind sprang up and blew the dust away. Someone saw that the dust color changed from yellow to pink and then red. Phew! Sui Ping was panting. He used all the strength he could muster with that punch. That was the second strongest skill he had, other than the Void Sword. Suaping was able to see the deepest parts of the dust cloud. Dead already? So, this is what I can do now, Suaping mumbled to himself. Now there was still some breath of life, but it was faint. He had used all of his strength when he had fought the otherworld heavenly king. Even the Inferno dragon had opted to sacrifice itself, just so that he could make that beast flee. Back then he had a sense that the heavenly king had not used its full energy, or else he wouldn't have defeated it that easily. He could have died. As for why the heavenly king had decided to save energy, he didn't have a clue. But in this case, a beast king as strong as the otherworld heavenly king had been unable to stand a single punch. The rules of flames, thunder, and more. If I can integrate more rules into the skill, I will be able to display a greater power. Suaping blinked. He felt a sense of emptiness. The vortices had become smaller, they were absorbing energy from the air, although feebly. The little skeleton was trying to collect energy for him as well. The dust was soon dispersed and the onlookers were finally able to see. All of them gasped. It was dead. The mountain-like beast king had died. Its body was split as if something had crushed it. Its skin had exploded, its bones and organs had been squeezed out. Blood was everywhere and more was gushing out. What? The legendary battle pet warriors and Venerable the Blade looked at each other speechlessly. How terrifying! That was a beast king that had captured Lord Nai. It had also used the rock god spear. Still, it had been killed by Suaping, just like that. After a momentary silence, Venerable the Blade was the first who came back to his senses. He clenched his fists and shouted non-stop. He was excited. Thrilled. He was a man that would barely show his emotions, but he just couldn't contain his joy. The other legendary battle pet warriors were also ecstatic. The leader of the strike had been killed. They made it. They won. Not only had they successfully defended the Longjing base city, but the entire defense line. They saved more than 1 billion people. The titled warriors who were standing nearby were also chanting joyfully, their spirits had been uplifted. They commanded their warriors to charge and to finish all the remaining wild beasts. A complete victory. The battle pet warriors were unstoppable. Even the healers were acting faster. That was the result of high morale. Suaping was startled by the excited shouts of the legendary battle pet warriors close by. He darted them a glance and ordered grumpily, "Go and help them finish this." Those legendary battle pet warriors laughed. They obeyed his order and sprang into action. As they left, Venerable the Blade bowed at Suaping and then went after the other legendary battle pet warriors. Suaping stopped the merger with the little skeleton, even though he wasn't tired at all and its energy was still full. Suaping told the skeleton to use the enslaving skill on the string of legendary battle pet warriors who were captured by the mountain-like beast king. Soon, the little skeleton shook its head at Suaping. "I did not find them." Suaping raised his eyebrows. "Did I punch them to pieces just now? Never mind. Call back their spirits." Suaping said. Summoning the undead was one of the little skeleton's many skills. Enslaving would need corpses. But summoning could pull the dead people's spirits from the realm of the undead, under the premise that there would be a medium. Of course, the remaining energy and pieces of flesh would be the media. The little skeleton nodded. Its eye sockets began to glow red. Soon after, some virtual figures were pulled out from a swirl. The darkness around them suggested that they were about to turn into ghosts. "You bastard, you will suffer." After taking a look around, those virtual figures could ascertain the outcome. Lord Nai seemed so angry his eyes were red and his face was contorted. They didn't die because of the Beast King's vines. Suaping had killed them. They died in Suaping's hands. Hatred. They glared at Suaping. Suddenly, one of the ghosts cried, "Look!" They turned around and saw the corpse of the mountain-like beast king. Even as ghosts, they were stunned. They had struggled when that thing captured them, they tried fighting back but nothing worked. "Enslave them," Suaping ordered casually. he was still able to control them, even if they were dead. If beasts would have gone to the Longjong base city and he weren't as powerful as he was, millions of people would have died. Not even death would be enough to atone for that crime. The little skeleton's eyes glowed. The ghosts felt a tremor, and then a dull look appeared in their faces. Darkness oozed out from their eyes and they grew in momentum. Maybe those former battle pets were sitting somewhere in a daze. Just make them do their job. Sui Ping decided not to bother about those battle pets. The red glow in the little skeleton's eye sockets flickered, the ghosts of Lord Nai and the others cried out sharply and dashed toward the wild beasts. Having become the little skeleton's slaves, they had been enhanced by the skeleton's energy. Their strength grew. Apart from Lord Nai, the others were all at the ocean state. Also, since they had become ghosts, Sui Ping could even sign contracts and make them his battle pets. But Sui Ping would never do such a stupid thing. After all, their aptitude was poor. After the mountain-like Beast King died, the advantage of the human side was secured. Humans routed the wild beasts while led by the legendary battle pet warriors. Victory was at hand, even the commanders and advisors had stepped out of their tents, brimming with smiles. The crisis ended. The Longjing base city and the Xinjing defense line were safe. Half an hour later humans began to cheer once the last group of wild beasts cried and collapsed. It was over. They had won. Some of the battle pet warriors climbed massive heaps of corpses, planted their flags and shouted to celebrate their victory. Many battle pet warriors hugged each other with tears of joy. Other battle pet warriors went and saw to their wounded battle pets at once to comfort them. Some battle pet warriors were trying to find remains of their battle pets in the pools of blood and flesh. In that moment of victory, all the war correspondents turned their cameras to the person hovering in the air with many legendary battle pet warriors around him. People were able to see from the video capture that those legendary battle pet warriors treated that person with the utmost respect. The fact that the Longjing base city is safe is because of the powerful battle pet warrior covered in white bones. It is this bone-covered legendary battle pet warrior who saved the Longjing base city and the Xinjing defense line. This man didn't show up at the convention before the battle. I think he was assigned here by the tower. We do not have information about his name and title yet. Many pieces of news were broadcasted around the world. Some people were calling other base cities from the Xinjing defense line to tell them the good news. The base cities from the same defense line knew about Longjing's dire situation. The public was waiting anxiously to hear the updates. They would have to evacuate immediately once Longjing fell. Some of the neighboring base cities had already mobilized disabled and vulnerable people to the shelters when they heard about Longjing's crisis. After all, that was the first battle after the establishment of the defense line. The Longjing base city had gathered many legendary battle pet warriors. If they couldn't withstand the strike, the other base cities on the defensive line would surely be affected. But the tables were turned the moment Sui Ping arrived. The war correspondents were live-streaming the battle and people had been able to see some of the videos of Sui Ping fighting after he arrived. The videos were blurry, but they could see the scale of destruction. Buildings shook and the ground trembled. That level of destruction had silenced all of those watching the live stream. Even the general public was stunned by what a single man could do. A legendary battle pet warrior. He was peerless, like a god. Sui Ping would speak to the legendary battle pet warriors during intervals. The war correspondents were then able to capture close-up shots of Sui Ping and the little skeleton standing next to him. Everyone saw the man that saved the Longjing base city. In another base city, an old man and his granddaughter were overwhelmed by disbelief as they stared at a screen on the street. They had seen that face before. They had stood very close to each other. The three had met on a train when they had gone to the Holy Light base city for the competition. He is at the legendary rank. The old man forced a bitter smile. He was Ji Zhantang. He had fought against wild beasts on the train with Sui Ping. Later on, he learned that Sui Ping was a top trainer. But to his bigger astonishment, Sui Ping was also a legendary battle pet warrior. a legendary battle pet warrior and a top trainer. Ji Kaihuya felt this was a huge blow to her confidence. Above the Longjing base city. Time for me to go back. Suiping looked around. Things were calming down. The entrance to the passage leading to the deep caves had been blocked. The wild beasts were not trying to get out. Suiping sensed that they had withdrawn. The Beast Kings had been the first to run away. They had gone back to the deep caves and Suiping couldn't go after them because it was time and energy consuming. After all, the deep caves had a complicated terrain and the small 5 elements formation was still in operation. The formation was of little use, but what if he got carried away in a battle and destroyed what little remained of the formation? Maybe he would end up giving more freedom to the wild beasts. Sir! Sir! Whoosh! Whoosh! Apart from the legendary battle pet warriors, some of the local peak-titled warriors flew to meet Suiping. They were the base city's tycoons, resourceful and well-connected, they could say one word and millions would lose their jobs. Those titled warriors stopped when they were dozens of meters away from Suiping. They were holding him in great awe and veneration. The legendary battle pet warriors and venerable the blades stood around Suiping. They were covered in wild beasts' blood, panting with exhaustion but smiling. Suiping nodded to them. He was about to say something when a person hurried over. Suiping raised his eyebrows. Another one at the void state. That person was at the peak of the void state, several times more powerful than Lord Nai. I am Ma Feng, Longjing Base City's Heaven Executor. Sir, thank you for your help. The man smiled. He had hips as strong as a bear's and a back as supple as a tiger's. He had a long beard, although his eyes were small, they would turn into slits when he smiled. Suiping raised his eyebrows. Ma Feng? What is a Heaven Executor? Suiping asked calmly. He already had an idea. Before that battle, he would have been completely clueless and surprised. However, after learning about the Heaven Lock and the fact that both Longjing and Longjiang were part of the formation, Suiping thought of the formation the moment that man said that he was a Heaven Executor. Since there was an active formation, it would be understandable for there to be some guards. Heaven Executor, Ma Feng looked at Suiping, surprised that he hadn't yet heard about them. He knew that Suiping had killed that mountain-like Beast King, his immediate assumption being that Suiping was at the Fate state. Those at such a state would surely enjoy a high status in the tower, with access to confidential information. Well, that is a long story. Sir, just think of me as a guardian. Ma Feng smiled. Since Suiping was ignorant of it, he decided to not be too direct about it. After all, his job was confidential, he didn't want to give any secrets away. Suiping said a meaningful "oh," but he then understood that his guess was correct. I didn't see you just now. Suiping narrowed his eyes. Ma Feng explained in a hurry, Sir, please listen to me. Just now, 2 Void State Beast Kings were in the north and I was there. I didn't have a chance to deal with them quickly. I left this place to Naizekin. I didn't know, is that so? Suiping raised his eyebrows. A legendary battle pet warrior explained, Sir, I can prove it. Mr. Ma simply helped us distract 2 Beast Kings of the Void State. Otherwise, our defense would have been broken a long time ago. The others nodded. Suiping calmed himself down. I will leave all matters to you. I have to go back in case the Longjiang base city is in crisis. You have to know that our defense is not as good as yours. Sir, you are leaving now. Sir, why don't you stay for the celebration? The legendary battle pet warriors were surprised. What? Do you think I should stay here and moan? Celebration? Look at those corpses. There's nothing to celebrate, go and help repair the base city. All of you are legendary battle pet warriors from the tower, you should make greater contributions. After all, most of those base cities have to make contributions to the tower and that is how you get your resources, Suiping said grumpily. The legendary battle pet warriors were dumbstruck. Suiping had become hostile again. They looked at each other speechlessly. Listen to him. Is Suiping not a legendary battle pet warrior from the tower? Ma Feng was just as startled as anyone else. But he then understood why Suiping didn't know about heaven executors. So, Suiping is not from the tower. But his strength. Could it be that? Apart from Venerable the Blade and the other two who had met Suiping in the tower, the others thought of another place. The Federation. The Interstellar Federation. Only there could people reach the Fate State. There were even those at the star rank, and people said that there were gods in the Interstellar Federation. They looked at Suiping with a more ardent respect. If they could befriend Suiping and managed to somehow connect with the Interstellar Federation, their future would be more promising than staying on the blue planet. The Interstellar Federation had more resources, reaching the Fate State would be much easier compared to the blue planet. If they could reach the star rank, their life expectancy could grow to tens of thousand years, and they could even use some special means to prolong their lives even longer than that. They all desired immortality. Come now, go. Suiping looked at those who stood around him. The changes in their expressions were fascinating. They had doubts, confusion, surprise, and then delight. How strange! He didn't bother to ask about that. He took his leave without delay, vanishing on the spot. Before he vanished completely, he left one sentence for Venerable the Blade: Brother Leng, come and help the Longjiang base city when you have time. Whoosh! Suiping teleported. He reached a place full of lava at the battleground. That used to be a street in the base city, but the street had been melted and a lava pool had been formed. The Inferno Dragon was lounging in the pool. It was waiting for Suiping. Suiping went down and stood on one of the dragon's shoulders. Suiping summoned the purple python and Greena from the base city through the bond of the contract, and he sent the little skeleton to the contract space to have some rest as well. As for the ghosts of Lord Nai and the others, since the little skeleton was not enslaving them, the ghosts were suckered into the realms of the undead. It was impossible to summon those ghosts without a medium. Of course, Suiping did not plan on summoning them again. After all, the little skeleton could summon a lot of legendary rank creatures. He didn't need those weak things. Go home, Suiping said. The Inferno Dragon flapped its wings and flew up from the lava pool. Lava dripped down from its wings. The dragon made a dash into the distance once it reached a certain altitude. The battle pet warriors gazed at the person and the dragon with fear and respect. The legendary battle pet warriors in the distance watched as Suiping left. Many people held their gazes until Suiping flew out of the Longjing base city. Many battle pet warriors raised their hands to salute Suiping. He showed up without anyone knowing him. He left with countless people bidding him farewell. Tens of thousands of meters above the Longjing base city. The Longjing base city could barely be seen, even the Xinjing defense line and the North Pass mountain were as small as lines. The clouds were dimly discernible. That place was above the atmosphere. Countless stars were flickering in the sky. Suddenly, a massive spaceship quietly arrived close to the atmosphere. There was no sound in the vacuum of space. The ship was emitting exhaust fumes, but there was no sound. It was as if the vessel were a ghost. The next second, that spaceship bumped into the atmosphere. The skin of the spaceship had been forged with titanium and tungsten. The friction produced blazing sparks. Silence was broken the moment the spaceship entered the atmosphere. The engine was howling. Is this the blue planet? How ancient! I cannot believe that the astral power is this thin. Piss! Do you really think we're going to find some talents here? I heard that the highest rank is the Fate State. No one has ever reached the star rank. Reaching the Fate State is already good enough given the local environment. Let's go and find out if the information of those people they told us about is true. Alas, if it weren't for the fact that we're going through hard times recruiting, we wouldn't have had to come here. Several people were chatting in the spaceship. Command Center of the Subcontinent District's Shenglong Defense Line. There were also Void State legendary warriors. Over a dozen legendary battle pet warriors had been appointed by the tower. The defense line connected 9 base cities. The people from surrounding base cities were mobilized to those 9 fortified base cities. Each settlement had a population of 1 billion. At the command center, people were stunned as they stared at the updates they had received. The videos were being played on a large LED screen. Legendary battle pet warriors died, wild beasts were going crazy. Fear, defeat, and turmoil. The situation changed the moment Suaping entered the picture. What happened next astounded everyone. That guy, the punk who killed Legend Abyssal Ocean with one punch, he killed a Fate State Beast King. That, the legendary battle pet warriors were thinking. Some of them were purely shocked while others were planning. There was no doubt that Suaping had a Fate State combat strength. In the tower, the master was the only one at the Fate State. When Suaping paid them a visit and made a mess, many legendary battle pet warriors who had been outside that day were furious. They hoped that they could go back there and exact revenge. Still, the 12 Void State warriors in the tower had kept quiet about that matter. There were legendary battle pet warriors at the Void State that claimed they wanted to go and punish Suaping. But later, something happened, they then decided not to bother about it. The tower had been shamed but decided not to make a big fuss about it. The legendary battle pet warriors had been smart enough to drop the matter. That day, they had finally understood why that person had been able to leave the tower safe and sound. Only the tower master could have fought against that young man. At the current moment, internal strife would not benefit humankind. Lord Nai deserved to die. I heard that the young man is from a place named Longjiang Base City, and that he defeated the otherworld Heavenly King. However, Lord Nai excluded the base city from the defense line. He even told the base city to relocate. Lord Nai finally realized he went after the wrong person. I cannot believe he was making this mess. He was burning his own fingers. The Xingjing defense line will be fine. I wonder if we're going to endure a similar strike here. The legendary battle pet warriors were worried. The Xingjing defense line was lucky enough to have someone with Fate State combat strength to protect it. The Xingjing defense line would be fine unless several Fate State Beast Kings came out from the deep caves at the same time and attacked them. But that was unlikely. We the people in the Shenglong defense line were the ones who should worry because they were all at the Void State and they only had one Heaven Executor hiding somewhere. They would face a lot of difficulties if they encountered Fate State Beast Kings. The legendary battle pet warriors felt their minds were laden with somber thoughts. Even they had to worry. After all, 5 legendary battle pet warriors had died in the Longjing base city, within a matter of hours. The people with whom they drank while at the tower had become corpses. Even Lord Nai had died. Who else would have the confidence to say that they could survive? In the 3rd defense line of the subcontinent district. Same as the others, there was only one Void State legendary warrior and over a dozen at the Ocean State. That person is getting more and more horrifying. They were also watching videos from the Longjing base city. They watched attentively. An old man wearing a cyan robe pulled a long face. Sitting next to him was a girl with watery eyes and snow-white skin. She held a sword while she sat there quietly, but there was something about her that stood out. That girl was not yet at the legendary rank, but the legendary battle pet warriors present were eyeing the girl with admiration and respect. The girl had an influential grandfather and she had been born with good talents that could guarantee her a promising future. When I first went to his store, he was such a weak punk that I could pinch him to death with 2 fingers. He wasn't even at the 7th rank. He would have died if it weren't for the golden-haired girl in his store. He robbed us of our legacy. The fact that he could reach this state must be because of that legacy. The old man's eyes were glowing with hatred. He clenched his fists. He was Yuan Tianchen. He had joined the tower years before, but he had been working all around the subcontinent district in the recent years. Many forces and base cities knew about him. He had built up a financial group and a strong faction by leveraging his legendary rank. They aided him by collecting information as well as treasures. Yuan Tianchen had been holding a grudge ever since he had almost gotten himself killed when he entered Suo Ping's store. He just felt sorry that he couldn't get payback for it. He later found out that Suo Ping had killed a legendary battle pet warrior during the Supremacy League, to later go to the tower and punch a Void State legendary warrior to death. Yuan Tianchen was becoming increasingly furious, but he wasn't brave enough to seek revenge. He could not believe that the current Suo Ping was even able to kill Fate State Beast Kings. Suo Ping was almost as good as the Tower Master. If Yuan Tianchen met Suo Ping again, he was sure that he would not survive Suo Ping's punch. If it weren't for the fact that the wild beasts were striking the globe and they had to strive toward the same goal, he thought that Suo Ping would have probably made the trip to find and finish him. That punk, Yuan Tianchen filed his teeth. He didn't have the strength to kill Suo Ping, he could only hopelessly watch him grow and develop. He felt powerless, but there was nothing he could do. The only thing that made him feel better was that his granddaughter was not letting him down. Suo Ping had grabbed the legacy, but his granddaughter had also taken a share. His granddaughter had also acquired one of the slots to study at the top academy in the Interstellar Federation. She would soon be making the trip over. It would not be hard for her to reach the legendary rank while studying there. She might even go beyond the legendary rank in the future. Even if she wasn't fortunate enough to surpass the legendary rank, joining the academy would mean that she would have the chance to make many influential friends, that would become an invisible asset. Yuan Tianchen's jealousy and anger faded away upon thinking about it. He turned around and looked at the girl. The girl was sitting there quietly, it was as if she weren't part of that world. But the fact was that she wasn't as calm as she appeared. Her fingers were strongly grasping the sword, and the knuckles were turning white. She glared at the person in the video. It was as if she wanted to pierce that man with her gaze. She felt a rush of troubling feelings and pain. She felt pain because of desperation. Yuan Lingluo could not reconcile with the fact that Suo Ping had become much more powerful since the last time she had seen him at the Longta Mountain. She had reached the 9th rank and she could even fight against a legendary battle pet warrior. She was merely 19 years old. It was shocking enough for a person to reach the titled rank at the age of 19. She was a rare talent indeed. But, she had still lost. She had been outclassed by Suo Ping. Suo Ping had killed legendary battle pet warriors as if they were nothing, and he had just slain a Fate State Beast King. Killing her would be child's play for him. Back in the day, she would have been on equal terms to fight against Suo Ping for the legacy. But, she was nothing compared to him at the moment. Why am I still lagging when I've been working so hard? Talent? For the first time, Yuan Lingluo began to wonder. Ever since she was a kid, her grandfather had told her she was talented. She had always been better than her peers from the major families. She had kept the lead. She had gone to the Valiant Academy, skipping grades and graduating ahead of schedule with the highest grades. But she was losing nonetheless. Suddenly, she heard a gentle voice. Lulu. The girl looked at her grandpa's amiable face. This brought a lump to her throat. Don't overthink. You are amazing, Yuan Tianchen comforted his granddaughter. If everything is in order, those people should be coming to fetch you soon. Your future is promising. Don't compare yourself to a punk like him. Yuan Lingluo pressed her lips together. Can I do that? I don't have to compare myself to him because I can't win? She felt how her confidence was crushed. Yes, she could never compare to Suo Ping. She could go to that academy and go beyond the legendary rank. However, there might be better chances for Suo Ping. The girl lowered her head and whispered, I understand, Grandpa. Yuan Tianchen felt his heart ache. His hatred against Suo Ping grew. If it weren't for that young man, his granddaughter would continue to force ahead with nerves of steel. But Suo Ping made a mess of things. I do hope that something can go wrong in this strike. Yuan Tianchen thought. He didn't care about anyone on the blue planet, other than his granddaughter. If his granddaughter went to that academy along with his strength and the secret hideouts he had established, he believed he could live on, even if humans were defeated. The tower. The mountain range was covered in snow. The battles had disrupted the energy which had caused drastic weather changes. It was the month of July, but the snow had started in some places, while people were experiencing extremely high temperatures in other places. Many small hills were floating in the air of that mysterious realm. Each legendary battle pet warrior had claimed a hill for themselves, and titled battle pet warriors would work for them on those hills. Many legendary battle pet warriors had left once war broke out, leaving several people behind to stay and guard the tower. There was a small cottage in the mountain hovering at the back. Sitting in front of the cottage was a tablet, a sword, and a chessboard. The tablet was covered in moss. The sword had been plunged into the ground and the blade was broken. The chessboard was covered in withered leaves and grass. There was a pair of trees by the cottage and a swing was hung between the two. A kid was sitting on the swing and laughing. A fair-skinned young man wearing a white robe was standing next to the swing. The young man was smiling while he looked at the kid. All of a sudden, an old voice came from the cottage. "You two, come here." An old man with grey hair and simple clothes came out. He used a stick as an aid to move around. "Grandpa." The young man stopped pushing the swing. The kid did a tumble to get off the swing and chuckled. "Grandpa, today is the day we leave for that place, right?" The old man smiled. "Yes. They should be coming today to pick you up, if everything is according to plan." "Great." The kid clapped his hands. The young man just smiled, but he was also looking forward to visiting that place. "Ziwan, listen," the old man said to the youth, "take care of your little brother once you get there. You'll get to see many people like you. You cannot be arrogant." "I know, Grandpa." The young man nodded. "Grandpa, the world is under attack and the formation is cracked. I believe many beasts have reached the fate state. Will we make it? Should we ask those people for help?" The old man answered, "How kind of you, but that's not something you should be worrying about. I know what is going on in the deep caves. The wild beasts are trying to wipe out humanity to take over the blue planet, but they will never get away with it. And it's true that those people are coming. It would be the end of all the wild beasts if they lend us a hand." The young man nodded. "If one of them is at the star rank, him alone would be more than enough to solve our problem in the deep caves. They may even help in correcting all the hidden hazards that have been troubling us for years." The old man replied with silence. The kid was bored by the topic. "Grandpa, can you tell if they're coming or not?" "Don't worry. They will be here." The old man patted the kid's head, but the narrowed eyes suggested that he also had doubts. Boom _ The magnificent spaceship plunged into the clouds. The devices were producing many data sets. "The number of wild beasts on this planet is what you would expect on a deserted planet." "The same place, Mr. Fang." "Yes. Let's pay a visit to the blue planet's leader." The spaceship turned around and flew across the ocean toward a snowy region. He was Legend the Drunken, the guardian of the tower. Even though he was just a doorkeeper, many of the tower's legendary warriors treated him with respect. He wasn't at the void state, but he did have strong combat abilities. "Hey!" While staring at the snow, Legend the Drunken sniffed with his reddish nose, then suddenly narrowed his eyes. A black dot was approaching in the distance. The black dot was getting closer and closer until the outline was revealed. It was a magnificent spaceship. The ships built on the blue planet could only traverse the oceans, but humans would seldom make the trip, given the fact that oceans were infested with wild beasts. Humans had even stopped making aircraft carriers. But then, a spaceship was about to arrive. That was something that couldn't have been made with the blue planet's available technology. "It's them," Legend the Drunken's eyes glowed, and the signs of inebriation disappeared from his face. The redness receded and all his leisure utensils vanished with the wave of a hand. He strode forward. Legend the Drunken was then ready to receive guests. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The noise made by the spaceship was sonorous and deafening. The spaceship stopped above the tower. The cabin door opened and two people came out. Both were at the legendary rank. Legend the Drunken narrowed his eyes. Those two were at the Fate state. He felt as if he were seeing the master of the tower. The surrounding astral power was being compressed. That pressure was commonplace when a warrior stood in front of someone of higher rank. Those two could kill him easily. Hey Red Nose, you're still the doorkeeper. The middle-aged man smiled at Legend the Drunken. Legend the Drunken answered with respect, Mr. Joe, you're teasing me. I have no other skills but keeping watch over the doors. Sir, are you here to pick up those who were selected? Yes, the girl standing next to the middle-aged man answered coldly. She looked around with contempt, especially when she noticed the low density of astral powers floating around. The legendary battle pet warrior surnamed Joe said, Is your master here? Mr. Fang, our teacher, is here to look at the candidates. Tell your master to come out now. Legend the Drunken narrowed his eyes. Mr. Fang? A teacher, of that academy? His heart was racing. He had heard some stories about that academy. It was said that those who could become teachers there, should be at the star rank. It was for that very reason that the academy had established a name even in the scope of the Federation. I will tell him right away. Legend the Drunken was getting nervous. He took out his phone and was about to dial the number. It's okay. We'll go see him. An indifferent voice came from the spaceship. With that said, the entrance was suddenly opened. The spaceship slowly went into the mysterious realm. The middle-aged man and the ice-cold girl gave Legend the Drunken one last glance but no longer spoke. They flew back and entered the spaceship. Legend the Drunken finally came back to his senses when the ship vanished. He didn't open the entrance but the spaceship still went inside. There had to be someone above the legendary rank on that spaceship. He immediately called the master and told him about this, just in case the latter would require time to be ready to receive such honorable guests. Inside the tower's mysterious realm, the spaceship's arrival alerted many legendary battle pet warriors. The tower's mysterious realm was of moderate size. The legendary warriors were capable enough to sense any situation across half of the mysterious realm. The spaceship had alerted those who had not yet gone to the battlefronts. Soon after, those of legendary rank came out and gazed at the huge spaceship. They saw some special symbols on the spaceship. That was the official language of the Federation. They had seen it before but didn't know how to read it. Whoosh! All of a sudden, there was a ripple in space. An old man with grey hair appeared in front of the spaceship. It was the old man from that cottage. He looked at the spaceship, yearning to get a taste of such power. But he stored away his flights of fancy and lowered his head. I am Gu Siping. It is my honor to meet you. 4 people at the Fate state came out from the spaceship. The old man narrowed his eyes. Then, a middle-aged man also stepped out from the spaceship. He had dashing eyebrows and deep eyes. Something was intimidating about him. The middle-aged man walked on the void, step by step. He nodded to Gu Siping. So, you're the owner of this place? Not exactly. I just received the honor of being selected as their leader. Gu Siping tried his best to be humble. The middle-aged smiled with a little bit of contempt and continued, I come here on behalf of the Humia Academy, all in order to recruit some new students. I've already seen the information about the candidates and they do meet our standards, but I do wonder, if their information is authentic. Gu Siping said at once, Sir, please trust me. I have personally gone through the information of those candidates and everything is authentic. But I don't know if something has happened to them during this time. 2 of the candidates are my grandsons and they do meet your requirements. Is that so? The middle-aged man looked around and suddenly said with a frown, Come over here. Space trembled. All of a sudden, Two people were squeezed out of thin air from next to Gu Siping, the kid, and the young man in the cottage. The two had a dull look in their faces. They then managed to calm down when they saw Gu Siping. Not bad. Bone age is 9 and the rank is 7th. There's a certain beast presence in him. I think he was born to have a beast constitution, although I cannot tell which rank his beast bloodline is. The middle-aged man seemed to be happy about the kid. That kid did have the qualities to be admitted in their academy. The kid could easily reach the fate state once he was trained well. As for whether the kid could go beyond the fate state, that would be up to luck. Gu Siping was overjoyed to hear that. My grandson is still young. Sir, I'm sorry for troubling you by looking after him. The middle-aged man remained silent. He was observing the young man. Bone age 16 and cultivation is at the peak of the 9th rank. There's a presence of ice in him. He was born with an ice constitution. I cannot tell which type of ice constitution he was born with. He's not bad. The middle-aged man nodded. The young man was also up to standard. If it was later confirmed that the young man's ice constitution was of the best kind, it would also be good for the academy. The young man was relieved. He looked at the huge spaceship and knew that those people were from the Interstellar Federation. He and his little brother would go with those people to a legendary place far, far away to study. It was said that the most powerful in that far-off place had already become gods. They could destroy an entire planet by lifting one of their hands. Are they your grandsons? He had a kinder expression when the middle-aged man turned to talk to Gu Siping again. After all, being able to have two grandsons like those two on that resourceless planet had surely not been easy. Their grandfather would also be honored if the two kids could perform well in the academy. Gu Siping smiled. Sir, thank you so much. Don't mention it. The middle-aged man said, what about the other candidates? Gu Siping answered at once, they are somewhere else. Sir, why don't you stay here for a couple of days? I will call them. Gu Siping then apologized, I'm sorry but there have been beast strikes all across our planet. The other candidates have gone with their families to fight against the wild beasts. It'll take some time to get them here. Sir, please forgive me. The middle-aged man understood what Gu Siping was implying. He was apologizing as if feeling sorry. But the fact was that he wanted them to help. However, the middle-aged man did not say it out loud. After all, life on that almost primitive planet wasn't easy. He also knew that people were suffering. Do they have phone numbers? I will call them and send someone to pick them up, the middle-aged man said. Gu Siping felt a bit embarrassed. I have their numbers but some places don't have a strong signal. If we call them one by one, don't worry. Input all their numbers into one phone and I'll deal with the rest, the middle-aged man replied. Gu Siping was confused but he didn't dare to disobey. He entered the number of the candidate's guardians in his phone. Sir, those are the numbers. Okay. The middle-aged man captured the phone over and poured out some astral powers into the device. The phone trembled and 4 projections rose from the phone. Master! Master! The people showing up in the projections were surprised. They felt as if they would have cut through space and entered the tower's mysterious realm. Not only did they see Gu Siping, but also the middle-aged and the huge spaceship. Soon enough, the 4 came back to their senses, wide-eyed with excitement. They are from that place. Yuan Tianchen trembled. They had arrived. His granddaughter would go to that place. I am a teacher from the Humia Academy with the task of recruiting students, the middle-aged man said briefly, tell me where you are and I'll send people to get you. They had recognized him even before the introduction. The 4 people immediately spoke and gave their location details. The middle-aged man hung up the call and threw the phone back to Gu Siping. Gu Siping was in a daze. Since when was my phone this powerful? The middle-aged man said calmly, I only manipulated some rules. Nothing strange about that. The middle-aged man then said to the others, go and find where they are. Get them here. Okay. The four nodded. They entered the spaceship and soon came out after making preparations. They said their goodbyes to the middle-aged man and headed off. Shenglong Defense Line. Yuan Tianchen was seized with excitement once the call ended. He ignored the looks of astonishment from those around him and said to the girl, "Did you hear that? They're here. They are waiting at the tower." "I heard that." Yuan Linglu nodded. She didn't see that, but she did hear it. That famous academy from the Interstellar Federation was there to pick her up. She would finally tap into her full potential. Once she reached the fate state or the possibility of going beyond the legendary rank, the current crisis on the blue planet would mean nothing to her. "Grandpa, I will go and work hard. You have to take care of yourself," the girl said to Yuan Tianchen with determination. "Whatever happens, live on. Also, don't go and anger that person." Yuan Tianchen knew who she was referring to. The joy seemed to have been cut off by hatred. He nodded. "I know. I won't be that stupid. Let's wait till that person perishes on his own." Yuan Linglu remained silent. Perishing by himself? She didn't think so. She no longer had such a grand wish. On the contrary, she wished that person could live until she returned. A legendary battle pet warrior asked gingerly, "Lord Yuan, who was that?" Yuan Tianchen came back to his senses. He looked around and was barely able to hold back his smile. "He is from the Interstellar Federation. An academy is currently recruiting and my granddaughter has passed according to their standards. They're here and it just so happens that we're currently in crisis. I'll ask my granddaughter to tell them and see if they can help us get rid of those damn beasts." The many legendary battle pet warriors looked at each other speechlessly. Is he referring to the academy with abundantly qualified teachers? The legendary battle pet warriors gasped. They jealously looked at the quiet girl. They knew that the girl had been recruited by the academy, but it would only count until she got there. The letter of acceptance could be cancelled at any time. But the academy's teacher had actually made the trip. When the girl returned, she would become someone that all of them would look up to. It was also perfect timing for those people to arrive at the moment. It would be great if they could help in dealing with the wild beasts. Everyone was full of troubling feelings for a moment. The threat of the wild beasts would recede. But the bitterness from envy would persist. Yuan Tianchen was unable to mask his joy. The many guards recognized the dragon covered by the fireball at once. Some of the battle pet warriors had raised their hands in salute. Sui Ping breathed in relief. "Good. The wild beasts haven't attacked us yet. Have you detected anything?" Sui Ping sent a mental message to an old man at the titled rank. The latter had been gazing at Sui Ping, wanting to say hi but afraid of coming off as offensive. The old man felt flattered that Sui Ping was talking to him. He replied at once, "Mr. Su, we've already sent out guards to patrol the surrounding areas. Everything is fine at the moment." "Good." Sui Ping nodded. He then flew straight toward his store. The people were excited as they watched him leave. They knew the young man riding a dragon would be their savior when the wild beasts crisis hits. Back to the store. Sui Ping stored the Inferno dragon. He saw that several titled battle pet warriors were talking by the Qin family building across the street. "How are the other defense lines doing? Have you heard anything?" Sui Ping went over and asked. The Qin family elders moved to greet him. "Mr. Su, we've just heard from the Longjing base city. The strike has ended," one of the elders said passionately. "We've seen the video. Mr. Su, you are a hero. Longjing will be safe with you here. We will stop the wild beasts." Right, the other two elders agreed. Sui Ping rolled his eyes. "I'm not here for honeyed words. I'm asking about the actual situation." The elder felt sorry after cozying up the wrong way. "A new report will arrive in another 2 hours, there have been some delays at times. After all, the wild beasts have destroyed many things, including stations in some of the base cities. but as of now, everything is fine. Good. Finally, Suaping got the answer he needed. He was speechless. That old man had to be one of the PR guys from the Qin family. Suaping left at once. He would go and help if anything happened to the other defense lines. After all, if any of the defense lines were to collapse, it could harm the Xinjiang defense line and also the Longjiang base city. He couldn't have watched them fall and remain idle, otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to give aid to the Longjing base city. Mr. Su, have a good day. The Qin family elders bowed. Suaping went back to his store. He decided not to go to the cultivation sites after much deliberation. Judging from what had happened to the Longjing base city, he could tell that things were difficult. A group of wild beasts led by beast kings would have the capability of reaching the detection radius of a base city within half a day. Longjiang had yet to detect any wild beasts for the moment, but some wild beasts might have started gathering outside. If he were to leave for a cultivation site, even for just one day, it would be too late. Suaping dialed a number. Xiat. Mr. Su. The call was quickly answered. Xiejin Shui sounded thrilled as he took the call. I saw your video in the Longjing base city. Mr. Su, how heroic of you. I'm very happy that you're a resident of our Longjiang base city. Mr. Su, if we can get over this peacefully, I will gladly step down and leave the mayor post to you. Suaping said grumpily, I'm busy with my store, I don't have time to be a mayor. Back to business, I have to say that strike was unusual. Longjing was just a start, and there was only one beast king at the fate state. That is nothing. There will be more of them. Nothing. Xiejin Shui was confused. He wasn't at the legendary rank, but his mayor status allowed him to have a clear idea about the distinction between different states of the legendary rank. A legendary battle pet warrior at the fate state could be the ruler of the blue planet. The 4 heavenly kings that had been wreaking havoc on the blue planet for over 1,000 years were at the fate state. 12 warriors in the tower were at the void state, only one was at the fate state, or at least that was the information known to the public. There had been a fate state beast king during the battle waged in the Longjing base city. Still, Suaping had just claimed that it was nothing. What would be something? Xiejin Shui calmed himself down. He trusted Suaping. He knew that Suaping was a mysterious man. It wasn't surprising that the young man had access to other sources of information. If the battle in Longjing was nothing, then, the scale of the next beast strike would be astonishing. Xiejin Shui expressed his concern, Mr. Su, are the wild beasts from the deep caves really that terrifying? Of course. After all, those wild beasts have been contained in the deep caves for a long time. The environment is harsh and the law of the jungle is the only law there. There are more beast kings at the fate state than you think. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see 10 fate state beasts at the same time, Suaping said. He wasn't trying to intimidate Xiejin Shui. He was stating a fact. He had not planned on hiding that information from Xiejin Shui. He was the mayor and he would have to be mentally prepared so that his people wouldn't fall victim to panic. 10. Xiejin Shui felt his mind was blank. Suaping had overestimated Xiejin Shui's strength of mind. He felt his heart had stopped beating when he heard the number. 10 such beast kings were like 10 masters of the tower. 10 times stronger than the tower. Xiejin Shui felt a chill running down his spine and his hand was trembling. He could not even imagine how grave the disaster would be. Suaping said hello several times as the silence was prolonged. Eventually, Suaping said, Xiat, don't overthink this. Either way, the Longjiang base city will survive. Maybe the base city won't last till the very end, but humanity will manage to hang on. Some of us will survive. Xiejin Shui remained silent for a long time. Suaping didn't try to comfort him, he had to process this news. If he couldn't even handle the information, who could tell what would happen when the information became a fact? I called you because I want you to contact me whenever something goes wrong in the other defense lines. I will go and help if I'm able. Helping others is helping ourselves. Su Ping circled back to his original intention. Xiejin Shui finally came back to his senses. I see. Will do. Okay. Su Ping hung up the call. He then went to see Joanna, who was cultivating in the nursing pen, and asked her to teach him the heaven lock. Su Ping sat down in the nursing pen to absorb anima and compress his vortices. The tower. The floating mountains had been moved from their original spots to clear out a path. There was a spaceship at the end. In front of the spaceship was Gu Siping's hill. The place was merely decorated by the cottage, which was the sole construction. There were a dozen people standing before the cottage at the moment, including Gu Siping, his two grandsons, those from the Humia Academy, as well as other legendary battle pet warriors and young people. Are they the other 4 candidates? The middle-aged man glanced over to include the 4 young people. They were standing with their respective families. Even though the 4 were blessed talents on the blue planet, they were actually quite nervous. They were only pretending to be calm. Bone age is 19 and she's at the peak of the 9th rank. I have also detected the power of thunder and lightning in her, the middle-aged man said to a girl holding a sword. The sword-wielding girl looked quiet and pretty. She was Yuan Linglu qualified. She can be admitted. The middle-aged man nodded. The girl and the old man standing behind her felt relieved. The old man smiled, but he was trying hard to keep his joy in check. The middle-aged man moved to the next young person. Bone age is 18 and at the 9th rank, close to the peak of the 9th rank. There's a presence of undead energy. Good. Bone age is 14, intermediate stage of the 9th rank. There's an insect beast energy. I wonder how good it is. Bone age is 22 and at the peak of the 9th rank. The astral powers in you are profound. The middle-aged man was interested in the last young person. He did not feel any inborn skills in the young man, but the abundance of astral powers was astonishing. That young man's storage of astral powers was close to the ocean state. It wasn't easy to compress astral powers to such a level. You do have a special constitution, but I think it has to do with astral powers. The middle-aged squinted. The young man was nervous, but he faked a smile. Sir, you have good eyes. I indeed have richer astral powers compared with the other battle pet warriors. I already had astral powers close to the 2nd rank when I awoke. The middle-aged man nodded. That was not surprising good. You're all qualified, the middle-aged man said. They were all relieved. To be able to be admitted to the Humia Academy meant they would have a promising future ahead of them. I cannot believe that we found this many good students here. A lady with red hair smiled. The other middle-aged man said, I know that this planet is almost primitive, but there are humans here. This trip was not a waste. All 6 candidates are qualified. We didn't waste money on this trip. An aloof girl crossed her arms in front of her chest. Yuan Tianchen, Gu Siping, and the others smiled happily. Have you left out anyone else? The teacher asked. All eyes were on Gu Siping. Gu Siping said in a hurry, Mr. Feng, we have global competition every few years. Apart from the Elite League, we also have the Supremacy League. Both are competitions intended to pick the talented. Anyone who has some talent will stand out, unless they don't care about such events at all. But that is rare. After all, the rewards for the 2 events are quite lavish. Say that some people would never take part in any competition, they would still have to go and study in some academies. All the top academies are actually managed by the tower. We would make note of all the promising students and I would always show up and straight off recruit those who meet your requirements. I don't think I have missed anyone. Is that so? The middle-aged man nodded. Since we're here, I believe it would be a good idea to recruit more students. We will take anyone who meets our requirements. He looked at the legendary battle pet warriors standing behind Yuan Linglu and said, some of the talents do come from a prominent background and some might be unable to use the potential inside them, they can be ignored. Apart from the 4, go and collect information of all the talented young people under the age of 22. I will look at their information myself. Gu Siping was surprised. Well, sure. Right away. Gu Siping didn't dare to refuse. He summoned some legendary battle pet warriors that were close and told them to get the job done. The tower kept records of all the talented young people around the world. They had a team and designated people to collect such information. Study records of all the top academies and logs kept at some mysterious realms, and some special locations were on record as well. Yuan Linglu thought of a person. She bit her lips and clenched her fingers even tighter. Behind her, Yuan Tianchen felt the smile froze in his face. A glint of hatred passed across his eyes, but he hid it well. Talents around the world? Some legendary battle pet warriors managed to remain calm while others could not. Soon after, the legendary battle pet warriors returned with a thick pile of documents. Master, sir, these are all the files we have. Here are people that we know are under 22 years of age, and these here, we have just heard about some of their stories. We don't know their names or ages, a legendary battle pet warrior reported. Gu Siping nodded. He signaled the legendary battle pet warrior to directly hand over the files to Mr. Fang. The middle-aged man remained silent and idle. Still, the files flew to him and automatically turned, page by page. The first few files were student records, and the information was quite detailed, including the students' ages and family background, among others. They weren't just trying to aid their students to reach the Fate state. They strove to have students who could go beyond the legendary rank, reach the star rank and explore the universe. In the scope of the Interstellar Federation, anyone unable to explore the universe remaining trapped within a planet would be deemed as one without a future. Find those people for me. I have to check myself, the middle-aged teacher said. Several places flew out from the files. Gu Siping, Yuan Tianchen, and the other legendary battle pet warriors saw the names. Some of them got their attention, but they didn't say anything against it. Gu Siping immediately sent someone to contact the selected students. Soon, the middle-aged teacher had finished reading through the files collected by different academies and had then started to look at the information recorded in mysterious realms. Some visitors of those mysterious realms were odd in their own right, but their information wasn't as detailed. The scholar browsed through the files quietly, picking out several pages every now and then. This is interesting. The ones at the 9th rank can usually reach the 10th level of the Dragon Bone Tower at most, but this person went all the way to the 12th level. The strength of his spirit is good. He broke the record. The middle-aged teacher looked at Yuan Linglu and asked with interest, "Do you know the person who broke the record just as you did?" Yuan Linglu looked a bit paler. She gripped her sword tighter. She was about to say yes when she felt her grandpa send her a subtle signal with the change in his breath. She realized something. If Suiping joined them, given his qualities, he would surely be picked as a student. That is, unless his bone age was over 22, or else he wouldn't be chosen. Suiping would be treated as one of the star students, even by that academy's standards. She would never have a chance to catch up if this were to happen. After 2 seconds of silence, Yuan Linglu lowered her head and said, "Sir, I'm sorry but I don't know him." The middle-aged teacher stared at her for a while. He eventually turned over to Gu Siping and said, "Go and find out more about him. I will test him personally if his age is below the limit." Gu Siping darted a look at the file and answered with a straight face, "Of course. This one is good. He has explored a mysterious realm in the deep ocean. Those who venture into those places are usually at the ocean state. He hasn't reached the legendary rank yet, but he still went there. Interesting. Find him as well." The mature scholar teacher picked out more files. He soon finished reading all the records and picked out 13 files in total. 8 were described from academic records around the world. "Go and get them as soon as possible," the middle-aged teacher ordered. Gu Siping nodded. He gave the files to the legendary battle pet warriors who had been waiting by his side and told them what to do. Then, Gu Siping gingerly offered a suggestion. "Sir, those people are spread all over the world, it won't be easy for us to find them soon. After all, they had not applied previously, so we didn't protect them specifically. Some of them might not even be in the world of the living anymore, don't worry about that. Just do what you can." The middle-aged teacher sounded casual. Gu Siping nodded. He thought of an idea. "Sir, you must be exhausted after such a long trip. Why don't you stay here for a couple of days to rest for a bit? We have some local delicacies that we can offer. I also have a jar of vintage wine that I've been keeping in reserve for 100 years. The wine is made with precious herbs, one drink is enough to refine both bones and flesh of an average person, extending their lifespan up to 100 years without getting sick. If we drink this wine, we can accumulate astral powers and have a better power of understanding." The ones at the Fate State were intrigued. Accumulating astral powers and improving the power of understanding? Anything that could improve their powers of understanding had to be cherished. Besides, when something worked on humans, it would usually work on battle pets as well. The middle-aged wearing a curly beard licked his lips and said with eagerness, "Mr. Fang, how about we?" The middle-aged teacher shook his head. "You drunkard, wine will get you in trouble sooner or later. Alas, now that Mr. Gu is kind enough to extend us the invitation, we will stay here for a couple of days. We can walk around and look at this planet related to humanity's origin." The blue planet was the Interstellar Federation's starting point. Humans had the blue planet as a springboard, then later went to explore the universe. However, as the exploration covered more grounds later on, humans reached many different planets. Many of those planets were habitable. Technology also made it possible for humans to settle down on formerly inhabitable planets. Humans began to live and thrive on those newly discovered planets and regarded those planets as their home. After a long time, the blue planet where it all began became less important. It was just like sometimes people didn't mind the origin of their families. Time could erase everything. A few people would miss their origin, but that would not mean anything practical in real life. "Mr. Fang, thank you." Gu Siping expressed his appreciation. He had kept that wine in storage for 100 years. Other legendary battle pet warriors would at times ask him about that wine, but he was always reluctant to share. Since he was currently sharing, he had to say thank you this time. He was grateful that those from the Interstellar Federation even wanted to stay. That was how important they were. The middle-aged man with the curly beard scratched his head and smiled fatuously. He looked quite innocent, but his friends knew that he was anything but. The blue planet is suffering a disaster rarely seen in hundreds of years. "Mr. Fang, it might be difficult when you move around. What if the wild beasts hurt you?" Gu Siping said while lowering his voice. "It's okay. I will simply kill them." He didn't forget to make a joke. "As long as you're okay with that." Gu Siping smiled fawningly. Of course, he would be okay with that. Since the teacher dropped the conversation at that point, Gu Siping decided to continue. "Mr. Fang, I have a presumptuous request. We have detected at least 8 beast kings at the Fate State. I was wondering," before he could finish, the middle-aged teacher's smile disappeared and waved Gu Siping to stop. "We're here for our academy. I've seen information regarding that strike and I understand your suffering. However, we have our rules and we cannot interfere with the business of other planets. I'm sorry, but I cannot help you." His direct refusal stunned Gu Siping and the others. Yuan Lingluo was worried, thinking that her grandfather would possibly meet misfortune. After all, there were many Fate State Beast Kings and the Master of the Tower had just said they had found at least 8. She was freaked out. A person's image suddenly flashed past her mind. She wondered if he could survive. "Mr. Fang, this strike is unprecedented. The entire human race might be wiped out from the blue planet, turning the place into a beastland planet going if you don't help." The blue planet is our origin. Do you really want to see the blue planet fall? We have over 7 billion people, Gu Siping said at once. The other legendary battle pet warriors were getting anxious. The candidates would leave for the academy, but they would still have to stay. No one wanted to stay for that. But this teacher was at the star rank. He could pinch those at the fate state to death with 2 fingers. If he was able to help, the beast strike would be solved soon. The casualties would be fewer. The blue planet could keep on developing technology, and after hundreds of years, they might be able to make spaceships to connect with the Interstellar Federation. The trip to the Interstellar Federation could be dangerous, but at the very least the blue planet would no longer be an abandoned planet. Once they connected with the Interstellar Federation, the people from the blue planet would have the chance to visit other planets. They would grow, and that would benefit the blue planet. In the future, the blue planet would officially be accepted into the Interstellar Federation. That was the ideal future. The middle-aged teacher and the other people with him wore long faces and frowned. Mr. Gu, I'm being perfectly clear. Are you threatening me? The middle-aged teacher glared at Gu Siping. Gu Siping felt his blood freeze in fear. No, that's not my intent. I was only feeling sorry about those innocent people. Everyone has a fate, and every planet has its due course to run. If you cannot survive here, it would mean that the planet is not suitable for humans. The middle-aged teacher went on, if it weren't for the fact that we did not want to miss out on any talent, we would have been gone by now. We would not have stayed. Gu Siping nodded. Yes, right, yes, don't mention this again. We can use this time as a reminder, gather all your items as soon as possible. We're willing to stay for one more day, you should consider this a great chance for you. You should all feel honored since we're willing to make the trip to the blue planet to find candidates. This kind of problem would never be an issue worth mentioning, especially if they can make something of themselves in the future. The middle-aged teacher turned to Yuan Linglu and the other candidates. Your hometown is under attack, and if you want to save it, study hard when you get to the academy. The competition there is much more intense than you can imagine, and you'll have a lot more to learn. Yes, the ways which frightened you are primitive. You're like cave people when it comes to training your battle pets, said the lady with the red hair. They held contempt against the people living on the blue planet. They didn't think much of Gu Siping, even though he was also at the fate state, any one of them could have easily finished him. They had heard about that primitive planet's ways, battle pet warriors would stay at the back while their battle pets fought for them. What a stupid way of fighting! Battle pet warriors? They had to be capable enough without their battle pets, they would even have to be stronger than their battle pets. Otherwise, relying on issuing orders to their battle pets would never be done in a sustainable fashion. After all, when reaching a certain rank and when the battle pets were mature enough, a contract alone would not be enough to contain their battle pets. If a battle pet warrior didn't have enough strength, the battle pet could outright exit the contract space and devour their master at any time. Yuan Linglu and the other candidates decided to keep quiet out of fear. All right. Go and do your thing. The middle-aged teacher flew back to the spaceship. The others went with him. The mature teacher with a curly beard reminded Gu Siping with a chuckle, well, don't forget about your vintage wine, hey. Gu Siping forced a smile. Of course not. After boarding the spaceship, the aircraft flew up and hovered above the hill that Gu Siping had claimed as a home. Anyone at any place in the mysterious realm would have the chance to see that hovering spaceship. Some legendary battle pet warriors were unhappy about that demonstration of power, but decided not to say anything. They didn't let anything show. Gu Siping said to Yuan Tianchen and the others, you can go back now. Your kids can stay here, we need more people on deck across the world. Go. Yuan Tianchen and the others said their goodbyes and left right away. Yuan Linglu clenched her fingers. She wondered if that would be the last time she ever saw her grandpa. She couldn't understand why that teacher simply wouldn't help when he could. Their talk about not interfering in other planets. She was no fool, that was an excuse. If that wasn't an excuse, Gu Siping wouldn't have been so wary of that teacher. She was sure that said teacher could easily slap a person to death if provoked. He could kill any human but he wouldn't kill the beasts. Why? She hid all the hatred inwardly. She promised herself she would cultivate well and try to return as soon as possible. Gu Siping looked at the young people, he could clearly see the anger and hatred they were hiding. He heaved a sigh inwardly. An idea popped up in his mind, the teacher was probably trying to inspire them. As for whether that inspiration would get them to hate him, he did not mind. However, for the teacher to even use a planet's survival as stimulation, just so that a few talents would grow. Life was cheap. Maybe the people from the blue planet were like cavemen to those visitors. They might even see those local people as part of their kind. They were looking at the local people as humans looked at apes. They would never feel sorry for the blue planet.